YouTubers, we're talking college sports in the Deep South where college football is king. And we would like to think that the SEC football conference is the best in all of college football, and the SEC West is the best sub-conference in college football. I want to welcome y'all to the channel. Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. Once again, it's K-Stu the GOAT. We are talking college football, Auburn more specifically. Fearless and true gang, let's go ahead and get active in the comments section. Today, we're going to be talking about schedules. We're about 2 or 3 months away. Let me see, how many months are we away? 4 months away from the Advocare Kickoff Classic, where Auburn is going to be taking on Oregon. The spring game, well, actually the spring game, A-Day, is tomorrow, but we are wrapped up with all of the pre-spring training and pre-spring day coverage. Have talked about spring about as much as we can. Now it's on to the gruesome stretch between A-Day and opening kickoff. Now, a lot of you all are going to be going crazy on YouTube, looking at old clips and old games. I remember one summer, I want to say it was back in 2014, I watched the entire 2010 season to get pumped up for the upcoming season. A lot of you guys are going to be doing that as well. You got your subscriptions to Auburn Undercover, so you're going to have to find a way to keep yourself busy until the football season starts. And really, it's a lot easier than it used to be, because it used to be you didn't have anything to occupy you until the season starts. So just want to, this is the thing, I'm going to be doing some way too early predictions as I have in the past. And today I wanted to predict something a little bit outside the box, because a lot of times we think about these things as the course of the season goes. Now, mind you, you really don't have any way seriously to predict whether a game is going to be played at night or whether it's going to be played during the day. There's so many logistics involved. Thankfully, the SEC has the SEC network, because I remember back in the day, I'm going to use that term, back in the day, all you had was, if there was a game that was kind of non-essential, like I would use, for example, Auburn against Kent State. That game would have been a pay-per-view kind of game, or you would just have to settle for listening to it on the radio. But with the inception of the SEC network, pretty much all of the SEC games are televised. Okay, and you don't miss a game, even if Auburn is playing against say Alabama A&M, a FCS school out of the SWAC conference. That game will be televised. So keep that in mind as I make these predictions as to when these games are going to be played. Now, we want to know which games are going to be played during the day and which games are going to be played at night. This is more so a wishful thinking type deal than it is an actual prediction. I mean, this is an easy one for Auburn and Oregon. The first game of the year, the Advocare Classic, August the 31st. I'm thinking this game is going to be around the same time the Oregon game was in the Kickoff Classic. I can't remember when last year's Advocare, I didn't look it up, guys, I apologize. But if it were my guess, I would say this game will either be a 3:30, 4 o'clock game, or it will be a night game. I prefer this game to be around 3:30, 4 o'clock, just because that's when I want to see it. I don't want to see this one as a night game. I enjoyed watching the Washington game at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Give me a chance to watch that game, get that one out of the way, continue to tailgate, and move on. All right, so the next week after that, Auburn will be coming home to face old rival Tulane. Now, Tulane is a pretty interesting matchup. Now, I don't want this game to be played at 12 o'clock, but I do want this to be a day game, and I'm thinking that this game is going to be on the SEC alternate channel at 4:30. Okay, I think this is going to be a 4:30 game, and you'll still get that tailgating experience. It's the first game on at Jordan Hare, so if you want to get that going, perfect game for that. Tickets will probably be kind of low for this game, so it's definitely a good game to take your family to, especially if you're not a season ticket holder. The following week, Kent State, really doesn't matter to me which time this game is played, whether it's day or night. My prediction is that this will be one of few 12 o'clock games that Auburn will have to play this season, depending on who else plays this particular weekend. Now, as we get into the rigors of the SEC, Auburn will have to take the trip down to Texas A&M. This game will be September the 21st. Still a little warm out there. Still a little, a lot going on. The first SEC game. Kyle Field, definitely a hostile environment. For the last couple of years, Auburn, when the game has been played at Texas A&M, it has been majority day games. Played Texas A&M in 2015 at night. Oddly enough, winning that game. Jeremy Johnson led Auburn to a victory in that particular game. I would actually like to see this game played at night this year. I'm really starting to like this Texas A&M Auburn rivalry that's developing. I would love for this to be a game on ESPN at night. Not sure how the schedule will align, but this is wishful thinking, so this is what I want, okay? Now, as we move forward in the schedule, we're looking at Mississippi State. All right, Mississippi State comes to Auburn. It all depends on how the season is shaping up as to what time this game is going to be played. But if I had my wish, I would actually like this to be a 3:30 game on CBS. I don't want it to be a 12 o'clock game as it has been. I don't want it to be a night game, but I want to hit Mississippi State around 3:30 this year, okay? Now, the following week, Auburn will be taking on Florida. Man, this is probably one of the games that I have circled on my calendar. Is probably one of the most exciting games of the year. Now, depending on how the schedules go, how these two teams are performing, there is a good chance that this game could be a ESPN game day visit down in Gainesville. Just a great college atmosphere. The first time Auburn has played Florida in a couple of years. I think this will definitely be a very interesting matchup. Two very athletic teams. I think Auburn, obviously the more experienced team between the two. I want this game to be a ESPN night game. Auburn versus Arkansas. A couple of weeks later, Auburn gets the bye week between Florida and Arkansas. And, this game usually, I'm not really, I just don't get up for the Arkansas game. Nothing against Arkansas, but that rivalry factor has just never factored in with Arkansas. So, I don't want it to be a 12 o'clock game because I know we don't traditionally play well at 12. But it just, this game really doesn't matter to me. I don't get up for Arkansas, okay? Now, the next week, the Tiger Bowl down in Baton Rouge. The Auburn Tigers will be taking on LSU. This one actually late in the season or, down the stretch versus the usual sometimes in September as it has been at times. Going down to Death Valley, especially depending on what the climate is in the season, I don't want to take any chances. I want this to be a 3:30 game hosted by Gary Danielson on CBS. I want this to be a CBS game. I do not want to play late in the season. I do not want to see late in the season Auburn having to face LSU at night. We all know how hostile Baton Rouge will get at night. All right, so now we're easing on down the schedule. Mississippi State, Ole Miss, first week of November. This is another one of those games similar to Arkansas. I'm just not as far as Ole Miss, I just never really get excited about Ole Miss. Not really. The last Ole Miss game that I watched all the way through was in 2014. That game where it came down to Laquan Treadwell actually hurting himself gruesomely as Auburn won that game because he fumbled at almost like the one, whatever is shorter than 1 inch line. Had to have a replay to overturn that one. Auburn wins that game with still hope to make the playoffs. Didn't quite make it, but that was the last Ole Miss Auburn game that I watched all the way through. Doesn't really matter with me. It's not going to be on CBS more than likely. This is probably going to be another one of Auburn's 12 o'clock games. Now, Auburn cleverly has the bye week in between Mississippi State and Georgia. Georgia actually comes to Auburn this year. This is probably one of my favorite games to watch in all of college football. The Deep South's oldest rivalry. A lot of memorable games. You're talking 40-17 in 2017. You're talking about the prayer at Jordan-Hare. Just so many memories in watching this particular football game. Georgia has actually had the upper hand over Auburn in the last few years. You know, if I'm thinking about when I want to see this game, this is a mid-November game. It's probably going to be kind of chilly out there. I would like this to be a 3:30 CBS game as it has been for the last couple of years. I think I want to see this game at 3:30. I like the way in the fall how the sun just kind of gives that glow, that warm feeling, especially, you know, in the Deep South. I think this will be a great game at 3:30 in Auburn, Jordan-Hare Stadium. Jordan-Hare Stadium is absolutely beautiful in the fall. All right, so the next week, right sandwiched in between the Alabama game, Auburn faces Samford in kind of a warm-up right before the Iron Bowl. You know, this game will probably be at night. Strangely enough, I think the SEC Network will give y'all this one at night, just like they have done with Alabama A&M and Alabama State, other FCS universities that Auburn has, you know, competed against. And I like the fact that Auburn actually plays a lot of FCS opponents in Alabama. Keep that money in-house, baby. Last game of the season, the Iron Bowl, one of the greatest college football rivalries in the country. The Iron Bowl. Auburn versus Alabama will be taking place right after Thanksgiving. It really doesn't matter when we play this game as long as it is not at 12 o'clock, and I don't believe it will be under any circumstance. I think CBS will pick this game up at 3:30. I would rather have it at night. However, I think, you know, it's a given. CBS will pick this game up at 3:30, and we will have Auburn versus Alabama in Jordan-Hare Stadium, a little past midday. Still a nice day for tailgating, provided that it doesn't rain. So that was my outlook for games, you know, what times they will be played for the Auburn Tigers. We're getting into the rigorous months right before football season where we have to get, you know, start really digging for info, start really just trying to keep looking at that content to keep us engaged before the season start. Now, this is what I would like for you guys to do. Tell me in the comment section which games, you know, would you like to see at night or during the day, or what times, all of that stuff in the comment section. Let's get the comment section going. Go ahead and like this video. Make sure you leave a comment just so we'll know you're there. Subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn War Eagle.